Okay, so welcome everybody, and thank you, Jarel, Louisa, and Daniel for joining us from Australia, Japan, and Canada. Awesome! It's made this Paradism Day quite an international event with having all three of you guys here. Thank you very much for joining us. And without wasting any more time, I'd like to start and get the program going. Even if we have a few people right now, maybe hopefully others will join. I've written down a few questions which I will be asking you, and not just Jarel, but even Louisa and Dan. If you guys feel like jumping in and responding or have your own take to this, please go ahead and do that. And I also want to let the audience know that if you have a question for me or any of the panelists here, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom bar. At the bottom, you'll see Q&A. You can type your question at any point of time, and I will ask your questions to Jarel, Louisa, and Daniel to respond to that at a later point. So just feel free to dive in and ask questions. If there's no such thing as a stupid question, just ask your question, and we'll do our best to respond to your question. So let's begin, and I'd like to I'd like to start this by you guys introducing yourselves. Primarily, I just want to know a little bit of your journey in the Raylan movement. You know, when you started. Where are you today, and what are you doing in the Raylan movement? And Jarel, thank you for coming today, because you're the guy that's actually driving the whole Paradism idea. So tell us a little bit about that. Jarel, why did you take it first?
Okay, my name is Jarel. I was born in France. I live now in Australia. I discovered Paradism through the Raylan movement, and it was in 1979, so it's over 40 years ago. And at the time, Paradism, there was no name Paradism. It was created later by Jarel. And I was a young engineer at the time, and for me, I was always interested in economy. I don't know why. And at one stage, I was unemployed. I had a little bit of time, and it was a time where there was a lot of unemployment. A lot of people wanted to work, but there was also a lot of unemployment. How is that? How could we have an economic system where we create a lot of unemployment and there's a lot of things to be done, a lot of jobs? We can still improve the quality of life of many people. So how is that? And I had to look at the economic system, and I developed a passion about the economic system. And in 1993, actually, I even wrote a book that was called, in English, Paradise is 100% unemployment. And I read economic books like crazy. I just really, it has become a passion. And along those years, I've become more and more involved with the Raylan movement. And when it was time to create this Paradism, I just get involved naturally, and it's just dawned on me that okay, I become the responsible, but it was a bit like my passion. It's not by chance, and here I am, and it's a fantastic journey that is only starting. That is becoming exciting now with this economic collapse that maybe we are going to speak about, but. It has been a journey for me that has been over 40 years. So, but it's getting even more exciting right now.
Right, especially with the COVID.
So
right?
I just have to say one thing, that my English is still, even though I've been living in Australia for over 30 years now. And so I'm living in Australia, even though I come from France.
Yes, but I really like the French. It's still very you're very influenced with the French accent, but I think it's nice. I hope the others enjoy it as well.
Yeah, lucky you. You can learn French when I speak English. You see?
Okay, Louisa, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was born in Spain, and from an early age. I don't know. I felt that something was missing, and I've always been very interested in knowing our origins, where we come from, and I don't know. And I also felt like something missing inside of me, like I was best when I was alone. I felt part of everything, but in the culture I was born in, I felt strange. I didn't feel good, and I started reading books about I don't know Eastern philosophies. And one day I read about the Zen, and I thought I'm going to Japan and see, experience by myself. So I came to Japan, and it's funny. I felt like home. I In my country, I always felt like a foreign. I felt weird, but in Japan, I felt wow, it feels really good in here. So I've been in Japan for since 1983, and I met with the Messages of Rael in 1987, and I read it and I said, well, this is it. It's like if I already knew. It's like the book was telling me something that I had forgotten. I don't know. It's a weird feeling, but I called the Raelian movement in Japan, and I said, this is it. This is what I've been looking for, and I joined, and well, I've been here since. So, and I don't know. I love traveling, and I love meeting people, and this is what I've been doing all along for 30 something years. So,
That's great. And I have to say that, Louisa, thanks to you after I coming to Japan in 2016. Uh, if it wasn't for you giving me the information that you've been giving me, it would be really tough to do what I do with the Island Movement. So thank you so much for your support.
thank you, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Great. Daniel, a lot of people in India already know you. You're already a rock star, but what? Why don't you go ahead and give your introduction and how long you've been with the movement?
Well, I've been actually for the Rallian since 1989 for like 31 years now. And yeah, and I've been, before that, I was searching for my real value, spirituality. I've read about the Bible, I've studied Buddhism a little bit, and there's nothing really that I didn't connect really anything. And during my work, I was a broker at the time, and I had some clients who were wearing these medallions here, this symbol, and I've always been very curious by nature, and I asked them a question, what's that, and they start telling me about this movement, and I was like really anti-religion. I mean, totally, anti-religious, and didn't want to have nothing to do with that. But I asked them questions about that, and I was very, very curious to know. And then, finally, they gave me the book, Raoul's book, and there was only the first, the two books at the time. First one, number 1, number 2, and number 3, and actually, and that was it. I sort of read that. I read that book. When I read that, I said, it really answered all the questions I had. Like everything really, really connected. And I was in awe actually with this information. And that was in April, actually, I remember, 89. And in July at the time, Raoul was living in Canada. And in July, we had the seminar, the summer seminar. It's 2 weeks and on the campground. And so I decided to join, and I went there. And I still remember I was sitting with the new people in the front of the room, and for the whole week, and just, staring in his eyes, and I could just feel it, and just could feel that he was a prophet. He was the one, and it's just the energy that was coming out of him. And so really it connected everything, and I still remember after that first seminar, I think we all, the Iranians, we remember our first seminar, all of us. I think it's a really unique experience, and I was floating, I was so happy. And I never, since then, I got involved and never missed a seminar for 30 years, even once or twice a year, and always been active, and more and more and more. And that's it. And, I take more and more responsibility, and enjoy diffusing. This is really what makes me really, really happy. And the ideas that are given to us by Raoul, by the Elohim, I agree with all of them. And Paradism is a really, really powerful one, because I've studied business in my career. I studied economy and business, and this idea of, something was wrong with the economy, and Paradism really brought the key, really connected all the dots, and this is really where we're going. And as Jarel said, I look at the history, with all the crises we went through and what the crisis we're going through right now, and I think everything is happening at the perfect timing, and it's the right, we're at the right time and the right place, and things are changing. It's exactly evolving in the way that was predicted, that Rael predicted, and it's fantastic to be part of that journey. So yeah, I'm very, very happy to be here.
Awesome. That's so nice for you to share that. It put things in context. It's really great. I was hoping that, since you and me are very close, we're constantly connecting, and you've taken on the responsibility to help me in India to take this message forward. I was hoping that the year 2020 would be the year of Dan. Daniel is, but it turns out COVID took over. So the year 2020 is going to be the year of COVID. I was hoping Dan. I mean, I know you got your 1-year visa and you were all set to move to India. You had a plan, and we were even looking at the farmhouse as an option for you to park your butt and work out of India. But I guess maybe there's another plan on this one. So let's see what happens. But looking forward to getting you over here as soon as it's viable and possible. I don't know how long that's going to take, but yeah. So thank you very much, all 4 of you, for doing your introduction. All of 3 of you for doing your introduction. Just quick introduction about me. I've been in the Ryland movement since 2016. I read the book Intelligent Design, message by the designers in 2015. And I couldn't stop. I had to learn more. Daniel came the next year, did a lecture. I attended it. We immediately connected, and I did my transmission in April of 2016. In June of 2016, I actually went to Japan, thanks to Daniel saying, Prishi, you have to come to Japan. I met Rael. And then after that, it's just been on a roller coaster ride to be involved in this movement. I'm very happy to be part of this movement. And it gives me good joy that now I'm in a position to do these webinars online and so reach, all of India through technology, through the internet. So anyway, let's get started. I'd like to throw some questions at you guys, and then all of you guys can take a stab at it. And then we'll also want to let people that join a little later know that they can also ask questions. Guys, there is a Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom bar. Please, hopefully you can find it and you can type in your questions. I already saw one question was there. I answered it right there itself. But please go ahead and ask your questions. Once I'm done asking questions to all the panelists, I will then take your question also. So at the moment you think of a question, please just type it in. We'll get to it as soon as we can. Great. So let's get started. I'd like to, Jarel, and maybe all of you guys, whoever feels like taking a stab at this, I thought, many people might have read the title, Have a World Without Work or Money, and said, what's that? And they just, let's come into it. But you may not have an idea as to what is Paradism. So I'm not sure. I've sent them the video also to watch, but, people are busy. I'm sure they may not have had the opportunity to read it, but just because it's the title of the talk, they might have registered for the event. And in fact, some of them are even here who might have some questions. So if you take maybe 5 or 10 minutes to just give a quick introduction to what is Paradism, right? And then let's take it from there. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can answer to that. Paradism is just a system of society of a paradise. So what is a paradise? It's a place where you don't work, where there is no money because everything is abundant, and you do only what you enjoy doing. You are free. So this is the ideal society that everybody is dreaming of. We heard about it in the religions that one day there is, or somewhere there is this heaven or this paradise, and it's always after death. But no, we want to create a paradise here on earth, and not for a small minority of rich people, but for everybody. And we will have, so we will have to change society for that. And we will be able to do that thanks to technology. And it is this technology that is coming now, the automatization, the robots, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, all these new technologies are bringing a fantastic world where we can free ourselves from having to work for a living. So what we will do when the robots will do the work for us, but we will do exactly what we want to do. What we are all born with the potential to express, and we want to blossom, and that's what we will be doing in this paradise society, where nobody will have to work, but everybody will do the activities they enjoy doing to express their potential.
Great. That's a good introduction for people who have no clue, and they might be even probably thinking in terms of, wow, is that even possible? So now, of course, there would be the website, which is paradism.org, paradism.com, sorry. Is it .com.org?
.org, yeah.
Right. So Paradism is the website which has a lot of resources in terms of reading material, videos, and stuff like that. Once people take a look at that, and of course, they might be wanting to think, what can I do? I mean, I'm just, one person in 7 billion people. Or in India, it's like 1.3 billion people. I'm just one person. I'm not the prime minister of a country. I'm not anybody big. I've just got a job somewhere. Now I don't even have a job. What would you say to people who feel that they don't think they can make a difference? Maybe Jarel can take a stab at that first, and then I'd love Lluisa and Daniel to also share their views. So go ahead.
There is a different answer to that. The first easy answer is that just step back and watch the show, because Paradism is inevitable. It's coming. Already Paradism is coming. Those who are creating the robots, developing artificial intelligence, and working in nanotechnology, they are bringing Paradism. Also, this system is not a system that is brought by humans really, or by thought. It's a system that is brought by technology. So it is inevitable. But of course, we can do to help so that we make the transition without too much suffering. And that's important, because now the system is collapsing. It is the end of capitalism. The free market is collapsing, and that will be interesting if we have time to talk about it. But we will have the system is collapsing, and we will have to make the transition to Paradism, and so we educate the people what we should do for that, and they can read. We have a lot of material to explain how we can do the transition, and we can also speak a little bit about that. But the first thing, if we want to help, is to speak about it. That's the first step for any idea. It's like the idea has to spread. And you talk about it, I talk about it, and we all talk about it until we reach a critical mass. And once we have reached a critical mass, it's like by magic, everything happens. Because we have a certain number of people, and everyone do a little bit, and we start to do bigger and bigger actions. We start to impact society, and suddenly we can create big changes. All the changes happens exponentially. It's true for the chemistry. All the chemical reactions is exponentials, but it's true for anything. It takes a little bit while. It's very slow, and suddenly it happens overnight. And Paradism will be the same. Think of communism. Communism has been, the transition to communism has been very quick in a few years. But the same for the collapse of communism. It has been even quicker. So Paradism can, if we all work towards Paradism, we can install this society very quickly. I think within a generation, that is very quick. But the transition has to happen now. And the first step is to spread the ideas, is to spread all the guidance, we are all the things we need to do to transition without too much suffering into this new society.
That's great. Awesome. Louisa, Daniel, do you guys want to share some thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's important to inform people because we are seeing right now with this virus thing that, people are losing their jobs. How am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to pay the rent? What's going to happen? But people don't. I mean, it's happening now, right? So we are seeing the change happening now, and the governments are seeing that they cannot just keep people locked up in their homes without money, without anything. So they are thinking about a basic income, a kind of help, little by little. Even the governments, which are not too bright, are starting to see that we need to implement this kind of thing, a basic income every month, and also for a long time now, factories have become automatized, and work is being already done by robots, so people become redundant, they lose their jobs. And what happens? Okay, people lose their jobs, they have no money, they cannot make a living, but the boss keeps getting richer. This is very wrong. The boss should not get richer. The the the, the machines that do all the work, the 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 money that is earned should go to the community, should help the community, not just one person, should help everyone else. But right now this is not happening, right? It's only the boss that's getting richer, and people will get tired of this. There will be a revolt. Things is it's going to happen. It's going to become ugly, right? So uh, if people know about Paradism, they can see the possibilities of losing their job, but what can happen instead? They don't need to fear because, there can be a basic income, things can change. Not only one person can become rich, the money can go to everybody. And, there's no need to fear, they can see another possibility, right? They can see what can happen. And I think it's important in this sense to spread this message. And I don't know, governments should have realized this time ago, right? But they didn't. And now what is happening is that with this little virus, we are seeing how damaged, how messed up this society is, and that they really need to do something. So before they didn't foresee any problems, and now they are in the middle of the ball, right? They are in the middle of the problem, and now they are hurrying to find solutions, and those solutions are similar to Paradism, right?
Right.
So
In
this
fact,
is
yeah. In fact, it's interesting that you brought about the rich and the poor, and my own understanding of Paradism is that even the rich will get screwed up in a situation like this because if they've got the robots to produce goods and services, right? Who's going to buy it if they don't have money?
exactly,
Right?
exactly, exactly,
So
exactly.
it's actually a deadlock, and
Yes,
so it's not just the poor that's going to affect it, even the rich. I mean, even a guy like Bill Gates, for example,
yeah,
how many, even if he can afford 1 million iPhones, right, or whatever phone, Microsoft phones, how many,
yeah,
how many phones would he be able to use? So
yes,
it has to change, right? That's basically
yes,
what's happening. Dan, go ahead.
yes,
You want to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. What Luisa and Jarel said, that's totally in line with that. Agree. It's and you know what I see is like, firstly, very important to bring these new ideas, because politicians have no clue actually of what they have, no vision. Basically, politicians have no vision. Very simple. And now we need to we are entering a new territory right now. Like there's no model for what we're living right now. The old economic models won't work. Okay, now we need to be innovate to bring about a new system, because the old things didn't work. The basic minimum basic income, it's beautiful because it is happening, and this is really the beginning, is the prelude, it's the birth of that. It's uh, and because they have no choice, all right. the government shuts us down. They start printing money like crazy right now. And in Canada was very efficient, actually. You know, like 2 days after the announcement, I just went to the CRA website, you know, and then you just click a button and $2,000 is deposited in your account next day. You know, here in Canada, that's how it worked. All right, so it's this year has been very, very efficient. Okay, so the universal basic income, which was predicted, which is the first step to paradism, actually, because it's forced, you know, it's coming right now. Okay, this is the beginning, but it's now they're installing the plumbing, you know, to channel that money from the banks. So this money, for the first time, it's not going to the rich and the corporations, but it's really going to the consumers. And this is where it has to come. Actually, the money has to come to the consumers, because we are the one who are making the machine, the economic machine, work. But the way it was since 2008 with the financial crisis, because actually this is the backlash of this. This is actually this is the aftermath of the financial crisis, 2008. We never came out of that because we never solved the problem in 2008. We just start to patch short-term, print money and dump money into the hands, you know, of the banks and the rich people, and creates a huge asset bubbles. Okay, that's why the stock went to the roof, stock market and everything. But it was completely disconnected with the real economy. The real economy, like the gap between rich and poor was really growing and growing, you know, bigger and bigger and bigger. And this has to shrink, actually. Okay. And now what's happening is like the real economy now that's getting the money. So that's really a very, very good sign. And the second point is that about the money, we know that money has to disappear, okay, one day. And now they print money like, you know, like you just turn the tap, you know, and there's trillions of like 6 trillion is about like 15 or 20% of the whole U.S. economy that was just dumped right here, and all the countries are doing the same right now. The currencies will be worth nothing soon. All right, will be worth nothing. Let's look at the post-COVID area. What's going to happen with the currencies and the money? I think we're going to see inflation like crazy. All governments would be indebted. It would be impossible to pay back the debt, because these debt have to be paid back. How? Because you need to tax people. You know, how will you get the money to pay back the debt, pay the interest in the debt? You need to tax people. And there will be too much debt to pay. So we're going to have to create a new money, because all the other money will depreciate so much. And probably for a short time, gold will become the standard, but eventually we will create a world money, a world currency, which was predicted by Jarel, and you know. So we're gonna have the universal basic income. We're gonna have a universal currency that's gonna come. So these are steps, you know, to achieve paradism. We're also going to a world government, because, you know, now unfortunately the US is not taking the lead. Okay, what's beautiful about this event right now is that it's global. You know, it's not just a war, you know, like in one country and does not affect another country. This problem is global. It affects all government, affects all people at the same time on the planet. And this is very unique, actually. All right. And there should be a leader, you know, the US should take the leadership, you know, and cooperate with other countries, you know, to implement these measures which affect everybody. But there will be a forced cooperation, you know, everybody's doing their own thing in their own backyard, but the energy has to, you know, we have to cooperate, because it's a global problem. So we can see like the beginning of going to be a formation of world government, the trend, and it's trending there, you know. So with this, for me, is beautiful, because it's really going in line with the message and with the geniocracy and with everything, you know, that was predicted, that Jarel talked about. So I think it's great, but of course we have to go through crises for this to happen, you know, and then we try to minimize the impact of the people, but we're not smart enough yet, you know, to be proactive to implement these changes. But with Paradism, this is what we try to do. We try to be proactive to implement these ideas, you know, and yeah, and it's a beautiful time, and the changes are coming. the world ahead of us, you know, when this is taking place. Imagine when we have basic income, when the only thing we have to do is do what we love, develop ourselves, be happy. It's gonna be, it's a completely different life, you know, and we have all the technology to do that. Now, at least 80% of all the work, the jobs on the planet can be automated, robotized, 80%. We can do that, you know, right now. So the problem is the economy right now. The problem is the money. That's the problem. When money, because the capitalist system is killing itself, is destroying itself, okay? Governments cooperate with corporations. Why? Because corporations create jobs, okay? They give jobs to people, okay? The government want company to create jobs. They get paid, all right? If people don't work for companies, government will have to pay them, okay? So where do they take the money? But the goal of a company in capitalist system is not to create jobs, is to make money, to make profit, okay? So if they can replace the labor by machines, they will do it if they can make more profit, understand? So if they do that, by doing this, and they will do that, they will automate more and more and more and to produce goods. The thing is that when you buy a machine, you replace the labor by machines, you lay off the labor. So if the labor have no jobs in our system, has no money. If they have no money, they cannot consume, they cannot buy the products, you see? So actually, the capitalist system is killing itself. It's just, now it's expanding in Asia and other countries, but once it goes all around the planet, then it's dead, completely dead, because machines will do all the work. Machines don't need money, okay? And people will need to be able to consume, to continue to consume. So so they're gonna have to have the money. So we have to go to an economy of distribution, okay? Or a market economy with money, okay? But the technology is there, and the forces are there, you know, at play, and we have no choice. Actually, we're going into that direction. So it's fantastic to see this unfolding, because for us, we're very lucky to have our philosophy, because we can see things happen. You know, we know where it's going, and we can connect. So it's fantastic. Correct. And Richard, I see you enjoy it so much to hear that. And I remember before I met you, you told me that you were leader the Indian chapter of the Zeitgeist movement. And Zeitgeist, it was totally in line with what we do.
Yeah. For me, I was able to relate to it because of I think things happened to me, and I was like, when I got into realism, I'm like, hey, this is exactly what I've been thinking about. So interestingly, I think of it, what you're saying is like capitalism is like a cancer so it's gonna self-destruct by itself. Also, I happen to be just noticing one very interesting thing developing. The questions are coming in, so that's really nice. So
I'd like to say something about the basic income. There's something I don't like about the basic income, is the word basic. You know, why should we have the minimum to live when we can afford, we have a technology that can provide abundance and give everyone, you know, why is that? The problem is that we are not sharing the abundance. Is the profit of the benefits of the abundance is going to the owners of the means of production, and it's not returning back to the people, to the consumers, because they work. The salary is less than what they need. The money is not returning back to the consumers. So asking for a basic income, if I have a problem with that. We need to ask at least for an income of well-being, you know, to live well, not to live like a basic and just survive. So I prefer that, but it's not the only solution, you know. The solution will be to share and to nationalize the means of production, while also keeping free enterprise, because free enterprise is very good for progress and innovation and freedom, because we want to, you know, when we have an idea, we want to create our idea and see. So free enterprise is good, but we need to have both free enterprise and a big public sector, so that the community can afford to distribute, can distribute the wealth that is created by the technology. So the collectivization is very important. And the basic income, as it is presented by the people, is just the basic. It's not. It's like a slave asking for food when the problem is a chain. You know, you
Right.
need to get rid of your chain and not beg for food. So
Right.
we want to be able to live well and have our fair share of the benefits of the technology.
Right. In fact, when I was first, the idea of universal basic income had, was presented in front of me, and I looked at it, and I was like, I too had the same reaction, Jarel, as you, which is like, this like seems like a crutch, and maybe for people like you and me, we just don't want to see the crutch. We just want to see the final destination. So we're like very keen
Yes.
to get to the final destination. But I'm thinking, I don't know how this is all going to pan out, but I'm thinking that things like universal basic income or alternative currency or like a cryptocurrency or something, they might be intermediate. Might be. I don't know. They might be intermediate stepping stones, not the final destination. Might be stepping stones towards getting to the final destination, which is really there's no
Yes.
income, there's abundance for everybody, and all of that good stuff. So thanks for adding that in, because I completely relate with that point. At the same time, not realizing that people may not be where we are at, and they need something that they can't go that far. They need to go somewhere first and then get to the point.
Yeah, but if you want, the basic income will be implemented by the capitalism, because this is a band-aid for capitalism. But capitalism will collapse anyway.
Right.
So because of the automation and what Daniel and we have explained.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the basic income is just temporary to save the system, but it is not the solution.
Yes. It's a temporary step gap arrangement before we move into the final paradism that we're talking about. Great. Let me do one thing. Although I did have some questions, I'm very excited to ask the questions that people are asking. Let's start with Divyanshu's question. And this one is directed towards Jarel. His concern is that we're making Earth inhabitable. Okay. Won't we need to fix that first, right? And then find a new home rather than depending on artificial intelligence or robots. So what would your response be? Do you have a...
I didn't get the question.
Right. So he's thinking that the AI and robots,
yes.
if they automate everything, right? He's concerned about the environment destruction, right? The
Yes.
planet destruction because of capitalism and all of that is going to be there. So should we first, before we move into a world of paradism, shouldn't we first, fix the environment first? Otherwise, if we keep going at the rate we're going, we might not have a planet to move into a paradise or make it a paradise. I think that's what his question is. And Divyanshu, if I've got your question wrong, please dive in.
But it is capitalism that has created the destruction of the environment. With this system, we don't have the means to fix the environment because it's not profitable. There is no profit to fix to the ecosystem, but to deplete the ecosystem is much more profitable than to fix it. So this is the capitalism that we have to change. We need to address capitalism straight away, and it's collapsing anywhere. Otherwise, we disappear. So, but there is so many problems. Overpopulation. There is three big problems that we need to address. That overpopulation, militarization, and the pollution. Those three problems are the big problems that we have to address in priorities. Right. So, and we have to change the system for that because capitalism is creating those problems. So we need a new system of society.
Yeah, and I think from what you just said, it looks like that even if you look at just simple commerce of if money is the focus, and capitalism is all about the money. When the priority changes to money, then the environment and the planet goes out the window. Like, hey, who cares about the planet, right? I'm going to produce this product irrespective of how much damage I'm doing to the environment because I'm looking at the profit. All the focus is on the profit. So therefore, Divyanshu, if you can relate to the fact that because of capitalism, we are destroying the planet, and what we need to do is fix the problem of capitalism, which is creating the problem. That means now the planet is more important. Of course, what you're saying is true.
We have the technology we have clean energies, we can develop clean energy. We have the technology to clean the rivers, to clean the air, to eat good food. It's just a question of technology. We don't have a system that gives us the means to develop this technology and to use this technology. The governments are all broke. They are all indebted. How is that? It's inconceivable. We cannot even afford what we produce. And we cannot fix the problem we create. We don't give ourselves the means to do it. That's the system that does that, and we need to explain what we have to change. And part of it is the nationalization of the bank, creating our own money, and the collectivization of the means of production. But that's the beginning of solving the problems. But capitalism is the source of the big problems we have created.
Sure. And Divyanshu, here's an example or an analogy I'm going to try and give you to understand what Jarel's talking about. For example, capitalism, if the focus is always about the money and it's just the money, money, money. Now, when we are producing products, right, and we are making it for the benefit of human beings, we first used to develop, and this is, I'm talking about, maybe half a century ago, we used to develop products that were built to last. But that idea of building something last impacts profit. Because if this phone dies in 25 years, it's useless from a capitalistic profitable point of view. But if it dies in 2 years, then of course I can sell another piece and make more money. So the focus is always money and not on the fact that we should build something that this actually, if you think about it, this came from pretty much the mud. Right? It's come from Earth. It's just cleverly rearranged the molecules to make a mobile phone, but nothing belongs to anybody. It doesn't own by any industrialist because this came from mud to begin with. We've just managed to figure out intelligently how to put those molecules together and get a phone, get a mouse, get a computer, get a car, and all of these things is just mud. And if you think about it, if your focus is profit, and let me give you an example of this whole obsolescence issue. I'm 47 years today. My mother-in-law, she's not here with us anymore. She passed away. She bought a refrigerator, okay? And it was made by this very big company in India, Godrej, right? That is 50 years old, okay? The refrigerator is 50 years old. I'm 47 years old. It is older than me. Today, we make refrigerators. I don't think we can last for more than 7 or 8 years. You have to chuck it. There's no more parts available. And we have to buy a new refrigerator. That compressor is still going strong. I still have to open it every Sunday to defrost it manually, but it's still going. So did we know as human beings how to develop technology that were built to last? Of course we knew that, and we didn't know that now. We knew that half a century ago how to make such products, maybe even before that. In fact, probably that was the whole idea of making products were built to last was the default thought process. But thanks to capitalism, we now want to make products that have a certain shelf life so that I can keep making money. And what do we do with the excess parts that we are not using because the rest of the phone is working, but just one part has gone bad? What do? Chuck it. We chuck it, we put it into, a place where it is just not being reprocessed into a new product, and that's destroying the planet. So to answer your question about making the earth inhabitable, we got to chuck capitalism first, right? We got to throw that out the window, and then we are in a position where we can actually make the planet a better place. Okay, sorry, I was a little
excellent.
Okay, we have another question. Hopefully, Divyanshu, we answered the question, but if you have a follow-up question, please go ahead and ask that. I'm going to look that as answered live. Next one is from Pravesh Gulati. How will we survive if we don't work? I think he's talking about the interim period of, what do we do till such time Paradism comes in? If I don't have money, where am I going to get the food to eat? And I'm just going to die out of hunger. So what's your response on that, Jarel? And maybe the others can dive in. If you guys have any plans, do share.
But yes, of course, what if you have a machine, a robot that do the work for you? Are you going to work? Are you going to work if you can give this work to a machine that can do the work better, faster and cheaper than yourself. It will be stupid to continue to work. So this society is not there yet, but we are going to install it. And that's what we need to take the direction for that. We have the technology. We need to organize ourselves so that everyone can have robots working for them, cooking for them, shopping. And when we have those robots, there is no need to work. If we don't work, there is no need for money because we work for money. That's the reason we work. So we will create this paradise society where there is no work and no money.
Right. Anybody else wants to give a stab at that?
I think the whole thing has to start with at school level. So the problem we have now is that the people who govern are not intelligent, and they just, they want power, they want money, they don't think about the people. So the only way things are going to change now, if there's a big catastrophe, a big problem, a big mess, that people will say, whoa, this is not working, we got to do something. Because people now, the people who govern, the politicians, they are basically greedy and they don't care about the people. So unless there's something big happening, it's not going to change because they love their status quo. They are fine the way things they are, and the rest of the people, screw them, right? That's what's going on now. So unless there's a big problem, it's not going to change. The ideal thing would be to have intelligent people that would say, okay, a few people having everything is not working because there's a lot of people who are, have no job, they cannot eat, and so on. Okay, so we start at the school level, right? We have to change our priorities. The priority should not be to who is the coolest, who has more power, who has more money, who has more things. The priority should be, humanity, kindness, that everybody has enough, that everybody can develop themselves. So as the messages say, our world is paralyzed by profit. So put profit aside and put the welfare of the people first. And this should start at school. At school, we should teach those values to children so that, you create children become adults and you have to start with them. So, it's going to take time. It's going to take a generation or so, but we should really start there. Another thing is that humanity as a whole is like a single human being. Each person is a cell of this body called humanity, right? At this moment, the capitalists, the people who have the money, are like cancer. They are eating all the energy of humanity. They are taking all the energy, all the nourishment of the rest of humanity. And humanity is killing itself. So, wars, all of this. So this really needs to stop. But again, those values, this knowledge, this understanding has to be taught from an early age, because if people are taught the best thing is, you get married, you have a good job, you have a good studies. Now, this is the goal for everyone. This is a screwed up goal. This is not a good goal. The goal should be, to share, to everybody has things. And well, so it's not, it's many things together. Another thing is overpopulation, right? People make children and children and children, and religions say, you know uh, anti preservatives and stuff is not good. You need to make children. We have to stop that, because more people means more energy needs, more products. All these pollutes the earth, right? We need to produce more. We abuse the earth. If there's more people, everybody wants a car, everybody wants a home. Inside the house, everybody wants a TV, everybody wants a air conditioner. All this is creating more things. To create things, you need to abuse the earth, right? Because everything comes from the earth. So less people will be good, maybe one child per couple, two at the most, and little by little, we can reduce the population, and this will be good as well. Less children, less mouths to feed, we can develop ourselves better. And so it's you know, it's not just one thing, it's so many things that have to change. And yes, there's no jobs, and how will people eat because there's no money? Well, there's no jobs because the capitalists who have the enterprises who have the companies have the machines, and they prefer to use machines rather than using people, because machines don't need a salary and people need a salary, and governments are okay with it. So governments are responsible for giving money to the people so they can buy food, right? So all those problems, they are seeing it now, right? So um, and if governments don't act, people will revolt. So um, you know, if we don't do things with our brain, then problems will come and people will revolt, and it will have to be done, you know, with problems, right?
Right. Right. In fact, again, Pravesh, to look at all these are, of course, different views. There are two parts, I think, to your question. One is when you're asking how will we survive if we don't work, uh, it depends. Like Jarel was more discussing about post Paradism, right? He's like, if the robot's doing everything, why do you need to work? That's the separate thing. And this is the before we get to Paradism, how will we survive? So it is a technical challenge. It is a problem that we need to deal with till such time that Paradism comes in to place. How do we survive? I've thought about this myself. You know, I'm like right now I'm kind of like a split personality. Okay, I'm right now with realism. I'm all about let's try and help spread this message, do volunteer work, and I'm doing things without getting paid. None of us, by the way, are getting paid to do this. We're just taking out the time to do what we can to share this information with others. And on the other side of the split personality, I'm hardcore capitalist. Right? I'm like, oh, show me the money. Yes, I will do this for you, but give me money. So I'm in a I'm in a problem right now. I'm like, I wake up and I don't know which one am I today right now. Am I a capitalist or am I a freaking world person who wants to be, you know, sharing the world with an idea like Paradism? So you're gonna have to figure out how to work it. There's no one answer to during the period of this transition. How you're gonna make money to survive? There's a lot of internal work that I think you might have to do. I also did a lot of it. Been doing it for a while now, almost 20 years. I've been doing internal work about how do we survive. And of course, when you go inside, if you do your meditations and do something to go inside and understand, one thing I have begun to understand, and it's becoming a reality, is that we don't really need much. Most of the time, I think you are bombarded with I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. But if you think about it, you actually don't need much. And so therefore, if you are currently wondering what do I need to survive, I'm telling you, you do your own thought process. You go within and find out what you really need. And you might be really thinking that you need so many clothes, you need so many that. All of that can hold. If you can live a very long time. I don't know you personally. I don't know how much money you have in the bank. I don't know what's your job situation right now, but if you think about it, I'm happy to engage with you on a conversation one-on-one later post this webinar. But I can talk to you about some things on that. I also want to address what and reinforce. Jared, just give me 1 second. I will let you take over that one. The post transition into Paradism world. Once we're there, I would think in terms of there's no question of survival because you will automatically get everything you need to be alive. Uh, and the purpose of life, or if you want to call it work, would be to how to make the world a better place. Then whatever it is, even that we are in Paradism, how can I contribute to the rest of humanity? Because I think perfection is a never-ending journey. You can always make things better and better, better. And most of human beings in a world in the Paradism world will be how to make the world a better place. So that's what I wanted to just add over there. Jarel, you wanted to say something?
Yes. Okay. This is such an important question. So I need to add to my answer, because if you want to answer on the level of economic, the problem is the economy. The capitalist system is not spreading the wealth. So it's creating, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. We have to stop that. The way to do it is to nationalize the means of production. It's a very important key. It's a key to the problem. If the means of production belong to the minorities, they get richer and richer, and the money doesn't circulate back. It doesn't circulate in a loop. And the government has to borrow from the rich to give back to the poor, because the rich don't give their money. They lend it to the government to give it back to the poor so that they can continue to their consumption. This is not working. The government is getting more and more into debt, and the system is collapsing. So the way to do that is to spread the wealth. It's not the wealth don't need to accumulate in one place for fewer and fewer people. The only way to do it, and there is no 50 ways, the only way to do it is to collectivize, nationalize, communitize, call it how you want it, nationalize the means of production. So it is a community who enrich itself and then spread the wealth among the people, and the people can feed themselves, can have a house for free, electricity for free, energy for free, because it is a community who owns those essential industries. When the community owns something, it can be free. You don't pay for the roads because the community owns the roads. You don't pay for hospitals when the community owns the hospitals, the schools. So if the community owns the means of production, the machines, if the community owns the machines that make the profits, then the community become wealthy and can distribute the benefit, the profit to the population. That's the only way. Capitalism will only create a bigger and bigger gap between the poor and the rich. So this is answering directly to the question, how can I feed myself? By changing the systems. And the capitalism system is going bankrupt. And we need to educate the people that we have to go towards communitizing the means of production.
Thank you for that. That's great. So, Pravesh, what you can do is actually join us. If you think this idea makes sense, if it resonates with you, come and join us, learn more about it. We've got a lot of information and resources. And if you want, call us, invite us to talk to your people. We have now Zoom. We can connect to people all over the place. People can connect from their phones. And we'd be more than happy to share this information and answer questions like we are asking. Let's dive into the next question, which is again from Divyanshu. This is to Dan, directed to Dan. But this will collapse the whole civilization we built over thousands of years. Again, I'm not too sure how to address this one. Dan, I guess he probably punched in this question while you were talking in some point about one of the things you were talking about, one of the many things that you were talking about. So I'm not sure to which one, because he just said, but this will collapse the whole civilization we built over thousands of years. Does it ring a bell?
Well, that's what we want, actually, the whole thing to collapse. I just maybe, Rishi, if I just can add a point to what Jarel just said,
Okay.
Nationalization of all the means of production. This is definitely the way, the thing in the message, what I liked about the idea is that how it should be done. The big problem on the planet right now is inheritance, all right? So the wealth is concentrated in the hands of the 1% or 0.1%, okay? I mean, we know that about 1% have more wealth than half of the world population. If when people die, people are allowed to make money, okay, during their lifetime, they build huge fortune, but when they die, the thing is that right now, the inheritance, this wealth stays in the family or in the close ones, okay? But it should be, when people die, it should be, this wealth should go back to the society, all right? Should be then nationalized and sold back to society. So this way the wealth can, so people can become rich. Of course, those who do more for society, it's normal that they get more, okay? They get more back. But when you die, then it's society that made you rich. So then everything, you earned and your wealth you accumulated goes back to society. So this is the one change that could be done. Another example I know about, I have a friend who's very, very smart. He worked for a company and he told his boss that he could change, he's an engineer and robotic engineer, and he changed the production line. He wanted to automate all process in the factory, but automating would have laid off about 30 people. So he said to the boss, I'm gonna do that. All right, I can do that for you. It would cost just very little money to be able to do that. So the thing is that what he said, my friend said, the boss didn't want to do it. So my friend said, okay, he talked to all the other employees, the 30 guys. He said, we're going to be together. We are going to buy the factory, okay? And we will automate everything here, okay? So we continue to produce. We have no job, but we get the income from the job without working, okay? And that was brilliant, okay? And the other workers, the co-workers, they didn't buy into that, okay? But that's an idea of how, workers could buy the means of production, basically, okay? And then continue to work, or put machines to replace their work, and they continue to get the income, and they can be, have free income without working for the rest of their life, because machines are doing the work. So that's another way to shift, from instead of nationalization, because we're in a private economy, free markets, it's going to be less harsh, but definitely some sectors of the economy could be totally nationalized. And we saw, for example, healthcare, we saw that Spain nationalized their healthcare system, and the US has a lot of problem because the healthcare system is not nationalized as opposed to all the G7 countries. So yeah, there's different sectors, but definitely the means of production and the money. And actually, most of the billionaires, okay, they say themselves that the system is not fair. They don't pay enough taxes. When the billionaires, complain that they themselves don't pay enough taxes, there's a serious problem in the system. Okay. So the problem is the politics, is politicians. It's not the rich people, because the very rich people, a lot of them become philanthropists. All right. They give away their fortune. Many of them, try to give away their money, try to help. The problem is politicians, they want concentration of power and money. So this one we need to change. Like Lluisa said, they're cancer for society. So we need a huge shift, of power. And right now we're going through a rise of populism, with these crises, and that's very good because there'll be a lot of pressure on politics to change the whole system. So.
Great. Okay, good. We are already past 1 hour, but I think I just want to check with you guys. Are you guys okay to continue? Because there's
no problem.
Yeah, Dan, is good to say. Jarel, Louise, I just want to get a check with you guys. How are you guys doing?
Okay. Yeah.
No,
Awesome.
no problem.
You
are in control.
No, I'm not in control. I'd like to request all of you guys to confirm. So great. Thank you so much for extending your time. The questions seem to be coming. I have just one request from all the participants. One, of course, I can see some questions. Rahel, you're posting on the chat. I request you to put them back up on the Q&A section. It's easier to manage. And also the second thing I want to ask is, if you've asked a question, try and use words that completely explain what it is that you're asking. Because if you're asking a question that's specific to something that Jarel or Lluisa or Daniel said, you have to give us a reference, because we might get to your question maybe 15 minutes later. You may not know what exactly are you referring to when you use the word like this. All right, so that's just one thing I wanted to share. Also, try and put the whole question back again, even if it's repeating it. Don't just put one word, because we don't know what you're talking about. Okay, next question is from an anonymous attendee. The person's asking, if machines replaces man, then who will buy the products from the market? Of course, your question is related to the fact that if machines replace man in the world of, so pre-paradism and post-paradism. So if machines replace man before paradism happens, that's a good thing, because as you very rightly said, who's going to buy the products from the market, right? This is where the rich people will get impacted greatly, because if they think they can use machines to produce, but there's nobody that has jobs to buy the produce. He's in a jam. So that's why we're looking at transferring everything becomes free for everybody. There's nobody that needs to pay for anything, right? And so therefore, if anybody wants to respond to that or expand to that question a little bit more, go for it. Whoever wants to answer that.
But the priority will be to make food for free, transport for free, all the essential things we can make for free. And that's the priority industries we have to nationalize. So we don't have to give money. If we, like a basic income, we can even get rid of the basic income if we have more and more things becoming free, because we can produce for free. Robots doing the jobs, there is almost no cost. So it will be possible. But for that, the community has to own the robots. If it's the price of something is linked with private property. It's only because it's a private property that it has a price. If the community owns the means of production, you can give away the things for free. So there are industries that are essential. Food, I told, having clothes and shelter and entertainment, all the basic that we need for life will become free. Will have to become free.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
one thing, jobs will, I mean, machines will do the jobs, but we need someone to check the machines, to oversee the machines, to make maintenance on the machine. So, instead of working 8 or 9 hours a day, people could do jobs in rotation, maybe work once or twice a week, maybe half a day, and this way they can still feel useful for the community, and they can, if they like it, they can feel like they are earning their money, like it's not like they do nothing. So that's another thing. And yeah, but solidarity is needed right now. The rich people own the factories, own the machines, and they don't want to give to they don't want to share their profits. So that's the problem. That's the problem. They don't want to share it, and people are going hungry, and people are going to get angry, and ugly things are going to happen. So either the politicians implement a more fair society, or people will be angry and they will do it their own way, with revolution. It's going to get ugly. So that's
Yeah.
but it's going to happen. It's unavoidable. It's going to happen. I mean, how many? 7 something billion people on Earth. Uh, so many people angry. No jobs, no money, cannot eat. It's going to happen. It's unavoidable. So either the politicians learn about things and become more kind and more intelligent and start implementing things, or the people will take will do it their own way with revolutions and a big mess. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's unavoidable.
Right.
See, if I may ask something to what Jarel just said before, and this really, I think, shows the real flaws of capitalism, okay? That it's not human. In the present crisis we're going through right now, in Italy, you know that in hospitals, they need ventilators to keep the people breathing, okay? Those who have really, really sick. So there was a ventilators in Italy this is a story. This is a true story. It was in the news. Machine broke, okay, and the ventilators broke, and the part of the ventilators that was broken. To order that, it took about a month to order this part, okay, from the manufacturer of the ventilators to keep the people alive. All right. So some brilliant guys over there, they engineers, they use a 3D machine, 3D printer machine, okay, to print the gear, the missing part, and to fix the ventilators. All right, it's beautiful. All right, this is using technology, to solve problems and to save lives. Okay, this is really a perfect example. But what really happened is that the company who manufactured these ventilators, they sued this guy who made the 3D part for violation of intellectual property.
Right.
Can you imagine? You see that? So you try to save life, you use technology, it's quick, it's free, it's efficient, but at the same time, you have these, you know, intellectual property, which is basically, this is the hindrance. This is why we don't evolve. This is capitalism, all right? We have the technology, but it's the money, you know, that prevents it, that prevents the technology to go wild and to change the world. It's the poison is the money. The problem is the money, actually, because science evolved much faster. So this is a perfect example, and this can apply, you know, at all levels.
Great. Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I was also thinking about this whole concept of scarcity. You know, we have now production to such a degree where we have more than what we need. We are able to produce so much. And because, as you guys said, you know, it's the money system that's preventing us to share this. So actually, we are in a world of abundance. We just need to fix the whole system so that nobody has to pay for anything, and then it'll automatically fix all the problems that we currently face. Great. Let me see if I can take the next question. Pradeep's question is, can technology free humanity from slavery of work? I think we've spoken more about that. I don't know if you guys want to add to that. I think we've answered this question.
It can be very short. It's yes.
So there you go, Pradeep. The answer to your question is yes. All right. Another question from Divyanshu again. Divyanshu is asking a lot of questions. If we automate everything, we will still need an institute that regulates all the automations. Which or who will it be? Yeah, I think this was answered in some form between Louisa and Jarel, but maybe you guys want to further. You clearly mentioned, Jarel, that nationalization of a communitization of all institutes is essential. So he's probably getting into the next level of detail. Who is it going to be? You know, which person is going to be? Do you feel you have a response to that one, or you don't know?
Whose person? Sorry, I don't understand the question.
So it's the third question on the Q&A. It says, if we automate everything, we will still need an institute that regulates all the automations.
Yes.
Or who will it be? He's kind of asking about, is it going to be the government?
Okay.
Is it going to be you, Jarel?
No, very good question. Very good question. But it is described in the message of Rael. Actually, Rael has received this message from the extraterrestrials who created life on Earth, including us in our image. And on their planet, they describe their civilization. So they have achieved the level of robots and biological robots and artificial intelligence. And they have an artificial intelligence who is monitoring everything, because you know, to know how much food you need to produce, how much school, how much book, how much telephone or mobile, how much computers you need. All these, the best is a computer, because it's a scientific, it's a mathematical problem. To optimize, you need you optimize through science, and the best tool to optimize we have now, it's a computer, it's an artificial intelligence. So everything is managed by an artificial intelligence, but you still have a group of people who supervise the AI. And this group of people is selected according to the scientific method. They choose amongst us the most intelligent, the most capable, and the wisest people they have. To they select them, and those people, they overlook that everything is running smoothly. And so they have selected those people with the criteria, scientific criteria, and we will do the same, and we call the system geniocracy. So the geniocracy is a democracy that is selective, because we can still vote for the one we select, but it will be selected scientifically among the best people among us.
Yes, so that's good that you brought geniocracy, and maybe not everyone on this forum might be familiar with the idea of geniocracy. So can you dive in and talk about this a little bit more? And I think I want to ask a question that I was not actually able to answer one of my friends, because the moment I told him about the book, and here's the book, Geniocracy. This is how it differs from democracy. And so he said, this is really interesting. I like geniocracy compared to democracy. Now, in the case of geniocracy, there was a part that talks about the selection of people on the genius capability, right? Not on the IQ, not on the intelligent quotient, but the genius capability, the wise person. So he asked the question, he says, since Ryan has access to the Elohim, is there a way we can ask them for a clue as to how they devised this, how to determine, here's the test, you punch in this and you'll get the genius, yeah, no, you qualify. You get 100 marks for genius, you get 10 marks for genius. Do they have a blueprint on how to select a genius? And I was like, I don't have the answer to that question, but that's a good question. Can you dive into geniocracy and then how do, I don't know, what would be the ways that we would need to figure out, like the Elohim figured it out themselves, right? They didn't have any help from anywhere else to figure out geniocracy as a concept. So first, just a quick, what is geniocracy? And then what is the way we can do it scientifically? Yes, but how? Get into a little bit of detail.
We can start today with creating scientific tests to select the wisest, the kindest, the most intelligent. We can start today. That doesn't mean that will be the best test, but we will always improve with our knowledge about psychology, but mainly about neuroscience. We will understand what is a balanced brain with imagery or scanners. Now we can even see the part of the brain that are defective, and we can see even when you lie with these machines. We can see those people who lie and those people who tell the truth. We can make the difference. So we can see the balance. We can make the difference between a well-functioning brain and functioning brain, a brain that is defective, and we start from that, and then we will elaborate. We will make the test as we go by improving them. We don't have to straight away select the best of the best. We can mostly improve very quickly on the people we choose now, because how do we know that they are not stupid, those we elect? How do we know that they are intelligent? We have no test to do that. And we can develop those tests right now. They cannot be perfect, but we can start today.
Right. And I'd like to just add, for those who are not familiar with geniocracy, that although it's an evolving process, as Jarel said, right, we won't have the perfect test today to determine whether you are a genius or not, but there will be a process in which we will improve it. Fundamentally, geniocracy is to select three types of people, categorize three types of people. If you qualify beyond a certain amount, you actually get to be, you have the ability to stand for election, to get elected and govern a community, a society, a group of people, an area, whatever. And then there's a set of people that is not that reaches that high, but somewhere in between, but not too low either, which get to make the decision to select the candidate. So you have to be of a certain genius amount of level to select. So not every, it's like in democracy, you have to just be of a certain age to vote. And in geniocracy, it's not about being of a certain age. You might be 40 years old, but you still don't have the intelligence, or not intelligence, but the genius level to be able to intelligently select a candidate to be in power. So today, anybody can vote as long as they're 18 or whatever the age for voting is, right? So that's where it differs. And then there's the group that do not qualify. They're very low level. Their thinking capability is very low. So they don't get to vote, but they will be taken care of by society, because the wise people are taking care of everybody. That's the whole idea of Paradism, right? So it's the super wise that actually govern, and it's the wise that select the ones to govern, and the ones that do not have the ability to think will be taken care of irrespective, and they can develop. I think in the planet of the Elohim world, they actually have a 7-year cycle to improve themselves and increase their intelligence, and then they can also be participating in the selecting process. And maybe somebody, Jarel, did you want
Yeah,
to say something?
a nice way to present it that you know the cells of our body. We are made of cells in our body, and they are all important. They are all a function in our body, and the same for human beings. We are all different, but have all different potential, and we express different function in humanity. Some are in the end of humanity, some are in the eyes, some are in the brain. So imagine the humanity has a big body made of cells that are human beings. So we need to identify those neurons of humanity and make them, put them at the right place in the brain of humanity so they can make the decision for the whole being of humanity. So that's a very good image. We don't ask the cells of my hand to take all the decision. It's made in the brain. And we are, as a humanity, we are also a biological entity, and the same applies.
That's a lovely analogy, that the way you used human being, like brain and eyes, and all are important, right? The stomach,
Yes,
without that, nobody can.
that's right.
We're all needed. Fabulous.
Exactly. We cannot live without each other. We all contribute. And you know what? The cells of my hands are very happy to be in the hand and not in the foot. And the cells of my eyes are very happy to be in the eyes and not anywhere in the body. So we all have a different genetic code. We
Right.
all have, so we are all so different. We have to find our place within humanity. But everyone will be welcome and useful.
Very nice. Very nice. Great. Let's see if we can take a few more questions. I'd like to switch to another person. Rahil is, I've been wanting to ask questions. Okay, so he says, like the movie Avatar is proving true technology is not what we want. Oh, he is referring to a science fiction movie called Avatar, and where they're talking about technology being bad because they're just badasses wanting to destroy the tree of wisdom or whatever that is. I'm sure you guys have seen that film. Um, I don't know whether that, yeah, that's one question. He's got another question, which is how to change thinking of people and take them to a path of harmony as predicted by the Elohim. So this is another question from Rohit. Sorry, how to change thinking of people and take them to a path of harmony as predicted by Elohim. As people in India are super religious and waste their time in many unimportant daily chores. Okay, so do you want to handle the Avatar one or the Elohim one? Which would you like to give a stab at?
The Avatar, is that the Avatar, Rishi, you talk about? The movie?
Yeah, the one where the nice, peaceful alien beings,
Yeah, yeah.
tree that guides them, and there's
Yeah,
harmony. And the military guys wanting the resources, right? So
yeah, I saw the movie. It's a beautiful movie, actually. Beautiful. Technology in itself, it's not neither good or bad. It's just a tool, all right? So it's what we do with it that's important, all right? What we do with that. So that's why we need intelligent people to make the decisions, all right? So the more technology we have, the more we can free ourselves from work, the more we can be healthy, the more we can be happy, the more we can develop ourselves. So, but if the technology is controlled by a few, with selfish means, okay, then of course it's gonna take advantage of people, turning badly. So there's no inherent qualities of technology. It's a tool it's intelligence, that we put into machines or into the knowledge that we use to improve our quality of life. And if it's for the good of everybody, that's why geniocracy is so important, to make these decisions, then it's fantastic. We can free the world and free us.
Nice, thank you. That's good. Did anyone want to take Rohit's question on how to change the thinking of people and take a path of harmony as predicted by Elohim? Meditation, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, Can you repeat the question, Rishi? Make sure I understand
Uh,
correctly.
So the question is two parts actually. One is how to change the thinking of people. Okay, he's hoping that we have some solution. You take this, swallow this pill, and the thoughts will change, and take them to a path of harmony as predicted by the Elohim. And then he had a second part to that, which is his viewpoint, where he says people in India are super religious, and they waste their time in many unimportant daily chores. So this
Okay.
is
Okay.
his
Well.
view, his outlook, and he'd like to
Okay.
know what can we do to change people? Where's the magic?
Listen, Rishi. We to change people. First of all, we cannot change people. People have to change by themselves. Make the decision to change by themselves. All right. And the tools, actually, we have them, okay, for meditation. For us Radians, we got the teaching of sensual meditation and all this a lot of different meditation techniques. But it's really awakening. That's how you change people. You get acquainted to new ideas, and then it click. When you're an intelligent person, oh, this is new. Then you explore this idea, all right? And then you decide, yeah, that makes sense. All right, you do your search, that makes sense. And then you start to change, all right? You start to evolve and you start to change. So the awakening, it's always, you need a trigger event, whatever it's a crisis or whatever, in your life. Or I talk about personal level. It can also be on a global level, like what's happening right now. But it started with it's a triggering event. And then you question what happened, and then you evolve, all right? So, and the tools are definitely, meditation is going inside yourself, all right, and ask the hard questions about you. And what's beautiful about now this global pandemic is that for me, what I see, it's an energy shift. Rather than people being busy, going everywhere, like unconscious all the time. Now they have to stop and go still for a while, and then go inside their house and also inside themselves, because there's a lot going on right now. Now people have a lot of free time to think, all right, and to feel, and to question their values, and to question where they're going, to question how the world works, and to question everything. So it's beautiful. I mean, this is what we need. So it's up to everybody, I think. For like what we do now, we spread new ideas, and people who hear that, some people say, wow, that's crap, or whatever. That's your choice, it's your freedom. But other people might say, wow, that makes sense. Let's explore, let's go and see what's in there. And then you get a new idea, and then you develop yourself on it, you explore it, and then you grow and you spread it if you want, if you become enthusiastic about it. And I think that's my opinion. But we cannot impose our views, and what we've never done in the rallying movement. It's just this is a strong tenets of our philosophy. We never impose change to others. We never try to convince other people. That's key to change the world. It's key.
I can make it short and just say, like you are right. We cannot change people, but we can inspire them. So that's what we are trying to do now, to inspire you to change yourself. We can inspire people to change themselves. That's why it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an ideal way to do things. For example, we have the media, the mass media, newspapers, internet, TV, radio. Now everybody's being bombarded with the coronavirus. It's so dangerous, stay home, this and that. If the people who govern us were more intelligent, this is a chance to communicate information to people, to change how they view the world. It's really the mass media, TV and everything, it's to reach the masses is the best way. And the people who govern us, the politicians, are not using it in a good way. So that's why we need intelligent people in power to change the view of people, because the great majority of people, they are so concerned, so busy with their everyday lives. They have no time to think about philosophies and things like that. So it's really those who, those at the top, the people who govern us, the ones who have the chance to reach to the masses and change, teach them new things, change the way we do things. you know, but they don't do that, right? Um, they just tell people what is good for them, for the politicians, right? To keep them in fear, to keep them not so smart, to consume more commercials, all this garbage, you know. To reach the masses, the best way, I think, at least at this moment, is the mass media. The problem is that the mass media is being controlled by the corporations and the politicians. So the people only get garbage. That's why we really need to change those who are at the top, because it's, we call democracy, but it's not democracy. Democracy means the people who vote are, you know what they are choosing. But now we have people who are not intelligent choosing politicians. So it's, as Rael calls it, mediocracy, from mediocrity, right? So anyway, for a big change, really, to reach the masses, the mass media. The problem is that the mass media is not being used in the way that would benefit the people, right? So this is the main problem, I think.
So I think if you think about it, Rohit, it's like there's not one answer to your question. There are various angles to that, and I'm sure all three of them have given you some perspective. In terms of changing people, as they very rightly said, you can't change others, you can only change yourself. What's interesting is that you're here today, and so you're choosing what media to look at, and you're trying to change yourself. So that's a good sign to begin with. The fact that you're here is a starting point. And when you change yourself, you will automatically start, other people will observe you and think, oh, what's this? Rohit's different. You know, he's talking about different things, and they'll start paying attention. And I think that's what happens. If you change yourself, you kind of create a ripple effect, and then people will now wondering whether they're doing these religious chores. Maybe they're very, done it for so many thousands, not thousands, so many decades that they can't help but do those religious tasks. But I would not be worried so much if they are engrossed in that activity. Maybe it's like a meditation for them. But if they're not creating harm, don't worry about it. Just let them be. And if they see that what you're talking about making more sense, then of course you should um, share with them this information for starting. You can even choose the media. As Louisa was saying that media, the main media is always colored with whoever's in control. I actually choose to listen to people. I actually pay them money because they are like, we'll get you news, but we're not working for any large corporate news media company. So I pay a small amount, and like me, there are many people, like my father pays another guy. We're paying journalists to get us news, okay? And they go out of their way to go, and because they're passionate about getting the information to you, and so therefore they're not working with that kind of an agenda. They might be having their own agenda, which they're not liking what's happening with the current politicians. But at least you can choose your media today, and you can pay for media that you want to listen to rather than just listen to. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's see if I can take the next question. The next one's from Rahil. Till when are we going to do the stage things? Capitalism or money or anything to discuss is not the problem, and technology is not the answer, even if it creates ego out of space. The show up, we all are educated and are a very okay, I'm not sure I understand the question. Rahel, if you can rephrase the question, that will be great. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand the question. All right. Next one is from Pradeep Kumar Dey. Is there any device to bridge the gap between rich and poor? Well, I think we've been speaking about it, but maybe if Jarel wants to re-emphasize, or Dan or Luke, how to bridge the gap between the rich and poor. Is there a way to do that?
Sharing the wealth that is produced by the machines. So if the community owns the machines, we can share the wealth that they produce. And at the moment, the wealth is concentrated in the pocket of those who own the machines. So if we communitize, collectivize, nationalize the machines, the means of production, it's a community that enriches itself and can spread the wealth. the wealth inequality at the moment is bigger and bigger because those who own the machines are doing all the work without the people having to work are in the hands of a few, and they are the owners of the 1% is making all the profits. It's not coming back to the people. I think it's no. I hope it's very clear.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, Jarel. Socializing, you know, if you look at some countries, for example, where the wealth gap is the smallest, like Sweden or the Northern Europe countries, this is where the crime rate is very, very low. Education levels very, very high. Quality of life is very high. Environment protection, pollution is less. So because there's less capitalism, there's less for profit. So when there's if a country like US, which is pure capitalism, this is where you get the highest wealth gap, and this is where you get, you know, all the consequences of that, you know, to crime, because poverty, you know, begets criminalities. And with even in the States, you know, prisons are privatized. Can you imagine? Prisons are privatized, not just the healthcare system. So jails actually get paid, okay, at 100,000 a year to keep somebody inside. So they have a lot of interest. Police have a lot of interest to arrest people, you know, to put them in jail because it's business. So of course, you know, this should be government. This should be socialized. This should be, you know, not for profit. Putting the jail for profit. This is totally, you know, stupidity of the system. So bringing the wealth gap, the government should actually change their policies to limit private property. There's different kinds of corporation that have been developed in Sweden, where on the board of the corporation you have 40% of the people are non-profit and 60% are for profit. So when they make decision, it have to take into account the whole society. Corporate governance, social responsibility has to be taken into account when they make investment decision, not just only for profit. So that's, you know, definitely a way to shrink the wealth gap, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that. I think Pradeep should have got a good, fair idea on that. There's another question from Divyanshu, and although it's directed to Dan, I think we can all kind of respond to that. He feels that we've evolved our living styles right now with money. So we're in a money system, but if you're looking at something else, it looks like by eradicating money, we're kind of downgrading. And I'm not too sure in what context he's talking about, but if he is talking about the fact that we were, you know, a hunter-gatherer, from hunter-gatherer we went into tribes, and then from that we went to agricultural industry, into industrial revolution, and the industrial into the information age now that we are in.
Yeah.
So we're moving in this direction, and we've got robotics and AI and all of that. So he feels that by destroying money, since we've had it for not maybe in the hunter-gatherer stage, or at least the form of money was very, very different. It was more like community that support each other. So he feels that money is needed. By eradicating, he feels like we're going backwards. You guys want to respond to that? It's whoever wants to go for it.
Yeah. You see, you know, money was essential. If you go back hundreds of years ago, you know, that was the beginning of trade. Remember, the history of money was barter at the first. Okay, was bartering instead of, you know, exchanging a cow for two chickens, 3 chickens. You know, it was more convenient, you know, to use it. You know, money has not always been paper. Sometimes it's been shells. You know, whatever scarce, you know, piece was used as money. But now it was essential. Okay, we went through industrial revolution, agriculture, industrial revolution. Now we're in the age of technology and automation and science. So money will become useless, basically useless, because we won't need it. You know, since I mean, it would gradually disappear, but more things will be able to be produced for free. You know, for nothing, for almost nothing. So we're not going to go backward. I mean, we're going to go forward, actually. You know, you're going to get more and more stuff for free, you know. So and science will be really our wealth. It's going to be really the knowledge and the science that can produce the goods and the services for free, basically free. So yeah, so it was needed at the same time, but gradually it's disappearing. It won't be needed anymore for all the reasons Jarel explained.
Yeah.
I also think that because of money, many things are being produced and researched for example, military means, uh, so that the countries become more powerful. So in a way, the focus of many research, of a lot of science, is misdirected. It's not for the benefit of humanity. It's because it benefits, self-interest. So if we eliminate money and we focus on the people, then science, technology, and research can focus for the benefit of humanity instead of, some private interest. So I don't think that abolishing money will be a problem for innovation and for the progress of science. Quite the contrary. I think that if we eliminate money, because the problem with money is that it only benefits an elite few. But if we eliminate money, then we have the whole of humanity, and we can, focus on what can benefit the most people. How can people be more happy? How can we make them more healthy? So the focus of research and technology can shift towards benefiting, towards welfare for the people. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, we will use money until we will need money until we reach a state of abundance. Once we can produce everything in abundance, it can become free and there is no need for money. And this is not going backwards, this is going forwards. We can produce so much and that we even don't need money. Of course, it's not going back, it's going forward.
Mhm. And you see what a new trend, in the past 20 years, like the open source movement, open source, like especially with the use of internet, people collaborate together to create software and develop machines and everything. It's all for free. People do that, just for free. It's fantastic. So it's a trend, that's happening. And yeah.
I think basically people are, if they have enough, then they really don't care about making more. They really want to contribute, irrespective of how much they're going to get paid. I think it's just that a lot of the population in the world today are below the level of having enough. And so if everybody gets enough to keep money off the table, and then they can be fabulous contributors towards humanity and society and the planet in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're very creative, and the creativity, and that's the thing. You had a question before, people. What am I going to do if I don't have work? If you know that you don't have to worry about food and paying for your rent, and then what can you do with your brain? You can use all your creativity to develop it, to do what you enjoy, the most, and use your imagination, enjoy yourself and enjoy and do something constructive for society, for others, and then once you're happy, of course, it's contagious, all right? And the happiness spreads and spreads and spreads, and with that comes love and sharing and everything. So it's all linked. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to the next question, which is Rahul wants to know if the creators show up, will really solve the problem. I mean, we are an awakened race. We do resonate? Again, I'm not really, Rahul's questions are not clear. I'm trying to figure out what he's asking. If the creators show up, will it really solve anything? I think that's part of his question. And we are an awakened race. We do resonate. I'm again not sure if that's a question. Do you guys make any sense of that? That's all I can see in this question. Should we give Rahul? He's raised his hand. Rahul, hopefully your microphone works. Can you rephrase your question? I'm just going to open your microphone. If you can ask it, maybe I'll be able to position to unmute your mic. Yeah, go ahead.
Which one here? I've asked many questions, Rishi, to be very honest.
Okay, so one of your questions
I've been chatting all throughout, and I've
Yes.
Yeah, probably, academics are bad, not the
Okay.
smart one.
No problem. So the one.
I can speak much clearer than I can type. So that's why, being
Yeah.
misconceived many times.
So I guess basically the one that you asked that we're looking to answer right now, you've written, so if the creators show up, we'll really solve it. We are an awakened race. We do resonate. Can you rephrase that question so that we can?
Yeah, so we are a vacant race. I mean, we are at a stage where we all can understand for a contact, to be very honest. Because, like I said, a child will never learn if he does not fall. So he will never learn the truth unless and until we see them finally, and then we will adjust. We know we've been adapting through a lot of nonsense then, as well.
Um, you mentioned something about a child. I didn't get that.
I mean, any child, like we as a human race are a child, right? To know the creators, the Elohim, right? And the child will not learn unless and until he fall. That he has to fall and then he'll become strong to be endure that pain and whatever that thing is.
Right.
Right, on the same line. So isn't it time enough for them to actually come up and do the
Oh,
contact?
okay, okay. Got it,
That
got it.
will
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
solve
I
all
get it.
material problems, psychological problems, all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
No, I got your question. So actually, Rahel, let us try. Now we get it. I do have a response to that, and I'm sure Jarel, Dan, and Lisa will also talk about it. I think this is also mentioned in the book Intelligent Design, but I think his question is the fact that why don't they just come and help us? I think we've gone through the initial phase of learning how to walk, so now they should come and save us and rescue us. So although I want to respond to the question, I'd rather that Dan, Jarrell, and Louisa respond to that. And the issues with if they come and just help us and babysit us and spoon feed us, what are the flip side? As they've done that in the past and they've seen the consequences. So I'd like you guys to take
Okay.
a stab at it. Whoever wants to go first.
They will only come if we become peaceful. So this is the condition. As long as we are aggressive to ourselves, they fear us. We can be aggressive toward them. So we have to become peaceful. And of course, as soon as we have shown that we can be peaceful and welcome them in peace, they will come up and help us.
Yeah, absolutely. They let us evolve by ourselves, and they could interfere, but they let us go, okay, to see if we can free ourselves from violence and make peace on earth. That's their intent. And they said definitely when they come, if they come, they could solve a lot of problems. All the problems will be solved by their welcoming, by acknowledging their power and with their knowledge. So. And if as long as we are not peaceful, like Jarel said, there's no way that they're gonna come. The invitation, the embassy is the invitation to welcome them. That's why we work also to build an embassy to welcome them.
Yeah, I think, can you talk a little bit more about the importance of the embassy and what's the current status of that? I know this was on Paradism, but let's also take this opportunity to talk about what does the embassy really signify and how does it relate to Rahul's question right now, which is if we actually get this embassy, it's kind of almost we're giving the signal to Elohim to say, come. So can you talk more about that?
Jarel, you want to go or?
But, the importance of the embassy, you don't arrive to on the planet without being invited. If we are not invited, you will be shot at. You will create an opposition. I mean, people will be afraid. You have to have an invitation, and the embassy is very, very good for this invitation because the contact will happen on a special place. Everybody will know that this is the place of the contact. Nobody will be afraid to see something coming from the sky at this place and at this time. It will be expected and there will be no fear. So the embassy is not that important, but it is convenient to organize an official contact. And it will show to them that we want to welcome them. So not only we have to be peaceful, but we have to be willing to welcome them. And the embassy is how we will show that we want to welcome them.
And it's like, for example, my nose wanting to invite the Elohim and the eye saying, what are you talking about? We don't want to invite. If you look at humanity as one big organism, it can't be Rahel and Rishi and Jarel and Louisa and Daniel saying, come, we want to welcome you. We got to be a majority that wants to officially invite them. So that's why the embassy project. So it takes time, yes, and therefore the only thing that can help speed up the embassy or Paradism or any of these things that we're talking about is if we share this information. Which is why when I read the book and I met Ryle and I met the Rylians, and I'm like, hey, you know what? If this has to happen, I need to do something about it. So we're hoping that you and the others that are on this program that will be inspired. That's why I think Jarel was like, we're hoping to inspire you people to actually read the book and actually understand this information and then share this information. And then you'll get the objections, you'll get the questions, which if you don't know, you can always ask us. Because you know what? That was the one thing that was told to me by everybody when I met in Japan, that Rishi, you are now looking at India and helping them to understand this information. If you don't know the answer to the question, don't worry. There are lots of people in the movement. Just ask them. Yeah, this is Louisa's email address. And I tell you, Louisa has been a gem. She has gone out of her way to respond to all my questions. And not all of them are mine. Many of them are from, from you, people like you. So we want you to know that we are there to help you answer your questions to people you share this information with. I can understand that initially, until you don't get your questions answered, you don't want to share this with people. And we get that. And that's why we want you to take your time to figure that out. But the more you take your time to figure that out, the longer it's going to take for us to get this information out. And the longer it's going to take to get this information out, the longer it's going to take for the LM to come here and help us and all of that stuff. But as Jarel said, we need to be peaceful, and that we're definitely not. The whole idea of coming again and when they see that Hiroshima, the nuclear bomb was actually, they destroyed the city. It was a sign. It was the last sign for them to say, okay, this is it. Time's up for human beings. We got to come back and get the next prophet in place, and hopefully we can become a peaceful race. And so that's what Israel's responsibility was, to help. But now it's all our responsibility together to share this information to become a peaceful world. And anybody else wants to give a jab at that?
Richie, look, I'm disappearing in the dark. It's getting, very dark here, and maybe it's about time we conclude this interview. Or this, because
I think that's a good idea. I guess you guys are, and I'm sure Daniel's going to collapse at any point, although he looks smiling, but it's a different time. So we've been at it for 2 hours. We'll take a pause at this point and just welcome questions to come. India@ryle.org is the email address, and my number is also there. Most of the time it's on the website. Please, do ask us questions, and we are hoping to have more such webinars available if that's what you want, and we'll try and get your questions answered. So thank you, Jarel. Thank you, Louisa. Thank you, Daniel, for being there with us today and answering all these questions. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting. Yeah.
Thank you for organizing.
Okay. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste. It's beautiful.
The new handshake is namaste now with the COVID-19.
That's right.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, Louisa. Bye-bye, Jarel.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Rishi.